Hello, Dr. Hi, it's Kean Wong, Postural Orthodontics. How are you this afternoon? Good, good. Thank you. Thank you for reaching out and your interest in my brother's program. What caught your eye in particular? Why early interceptive? Oh, terrific. Got it, got it. How is he? Yeah, he was a guest speaker at our event in New Jersey last year in September. And so it was part of our live stream event this year. We do it once every year, the 2-day intro program. We've decided to include the recordings from last year's event as well, which includes Kevin's, Dr. Boyd's presentation. Anyway, yeah, so did he mention? Oh, so you saw the ad that I guess featured him as well? Got it, got it. Tell me a bit about yourself and why got caught, besides Kevin, you're interested, are you already doing early intervention, early interception work? Sure, of course. So, did you get a chance to check out some of the links that I sent you? Would you? Okay. Do you have any quick questions? I can give you a 5 or 10 minute summary of the 2-day program, the advanced program, and the residency in about 5 or 10 minutes. But if you have questions already, okay, perfect. So the first step is the 2-day program. So my brother's been teaching for about 10 years, with me organizing the kind of all the business, the marketing. We've been doing it since just before COVID we started. And the first event we did was in Sydney, 2020 March, and we know what happened around that time. We were forced to go online. So we did a 2-day intro on Zoom, and we've done it every year since, except for the last couple of years. We were once in Sydney, once in New Jersey, the US, where I'm based. So we start with a 2-day program. It's 14 hours. There's of CE through the PACE program, AGD, but it also includes over 500 pages of protocols, articles, all the slides of the 2 days. So you get a very good, it's not just an intro. A lot of people with a bit of experience can run with the notes and start implementing, particularly, like orthodontists, for example, who want to get into this field, which is relatively rare. And then if you want to continue, we have 4 advanced training modules. Each are between 800 to 1,000 US. So in total, it's about 3,500. There are about 30 hours of additional CE. So it's about, 7, 8 hours a module on average. And then that's all self-study. All right. The 2-day event in June is a live stream on Zoom, but you can actually get the same CE by completing last year's recordings. So it's essentially the same content. So you don't have to wait to June. June ends up being a good refresher for a lot of people. It's good to go through material a few times, as you know. For those who can't just block off 14 hours, they just block it off in June, or versus those who want to get into it sooner than later, they've got the on-demand training available. So that's the 2-day intro. And then the 4 additional modules, what we call, don't get confused with phase 1 intercepting. We just call it phase 1 and lab day, phase 2, and clinical day. Lab day is literally we spend a whole day at the lab company that Simon's been working very closely with for 15 to 20 years to perfect the upper and lower appliances. So the methodology in a nutshell is expand the upper roughly, 10 millimeters plus or minus, and the lower. All right. So we're using a modification of Professor John Mew's BioBlock. Have you heard of the BioBlock appliance? Okay, got it. So Professor John Mew is 96 from England, and he's a real pioneer. So he developed the BioBlock. My brother was a student from 20 years ago and started tinkering with his appliances to get it to get the results that he's looking for specifically. And then on top of that, with the lower jaw, my brother came across the Schwartz appliance. Are you familiar with the lower removable appliance called the Schwartz appliance? Okay, so that was pioneered by Peter McNamara from Michigan University. 2, 3 decades of research on that appliance. So it's proven and it does a great job of expanding with mixed dentition children. My brother focuses on ages 4 to 10. He doesn't generally go outside of that range. The sweet spot is 6 and 7 year olds to get started because these are removable appliances, so there is some compliance. You get better talk and results as a result of using these type of appliances. So it's a modification of the BioBlock, modification of the Schwartz. So we spent a whole day, he's kind of showing ins and outs of making fixes, and the lab technician Enrico, who's worked very closely with Simon, also was involved with that, obviously. And then clinical day is literally spending a day at my brother's practice in Melbourne, Australia. So where we both grew up. And we just followed him around the whole day with where he saw 19 patients. So you can see the interactions he had, as well as the interactions of the nurses and so on, guiding, taking photography, taking, you name it, the whole ins and outs of the day. So once the additional roughly 30 hours is completed, and you can just do one module at a time, you just pay one module at a time, then you're then able to join what we call kind of the residency program, the mentoring program. So what does that involve? It's by application. You get to speak to Simon and have a chat with him, ask all your questions. And obviously everyone has individual circumstances. They may want to treat their own children initially, right? That's 50% of the mentoring students are initially starting off because they have a pressing case with their own child, and they want obviously the best supervision for that. So every 2 weeks, my brother's on Zoom for like 6 hours. All right. So you get one-on-one time. You submit your cases, Ceph analysis, photos, x-rays, notes, and he will review them before the weekend session. We have 2 tracks. You can join both, but you pick one track where you will have your case reviewed one-on-one with Simon, with another 4 or 5 people listening in and learning. And likewise, you can listen in on the other cases being supervised, and you learn as a mastermind, you could say, ask questions and so on and so forth. They've all been recorded since we started the mentoring end of 2020. So literally, hundreds of hours, hundreds of cases. Each case on average takes 12 to 18 months of treatment. So literally, hundreds of cases classified. We have an archive, a library of not only mentoring calls, but every submitted case presentation with notes written up by my brother after the calls. So you get this very in-depth library of cases to review. Like if you have a class 2 div 1, you can look up the dozens of cases covered and mentored over the last 4 or 5 years and go to specific calls where he's talking about it as it progresses throughout the treatment. So what time are these mentoring calls? Where are you based? Which time zone? East. All right, I'm New York as well. So right now, because it shifts during daylight saving, because it's a fixed time from Melbourne time. So my brother's Saturday evening is our 5 a.m. to roughly 7:30. Right, he's on there for 2.5 hours. Now during our summer, it shifts to starting at 7 a.m. So it's not too bad, right? I mean, you might prefer the early start, all right, to get it out the way. You've still got family time, so on and so forth. Now, if you can't make it for a particular reason, you can still submit the cases, and he will review it on the recordings, and you can watch it and so on and so forth. So that's available. His Sunday morning in Melbourne is our Saturday afternoon. The second track starts at roughly 4:30 p.m. Eastern and goes for 2 to 3 hours. All right, so those are the 2 tracks. You can listen in on both, but you need to pick one particular track where your case will be reviewed. And generally, you get 30 to 40 minutes. Not everyone, like let's say there's 6 people on Sundays. Each one gets 30 minutes on average, but on average, only 80% of the people turn up, because they just couldn't make it, but they submitted still. So you still get about 30 minutes of time. Sometimes people submit only one case. You can submit up to 2 to 4 cases every fortnight. So this happens every 2 weeks, all right? It's every fortnight. There's no set time to join the mentoring program. As soon as you finish your 2-day intro, finish the 30 hours of additional advanced training for 3,500, addition to the 2-day intro. 2-day intro is 900 at the moment. It's early bird. It'll go up to 1,500 eventually. We just started advertising a week and a half ago. So as soon as you finish the 14 plus the 30, you apply. Right? You apply, have a chat with Simon if it's a good fit, if there's a spot. At the moment, the maximum is 12 people at any given time. People are, finishing up and starting and so on and so forth. And if there's more demand, we can open up extra spots. But as soon as you finish, you can join because there's a set schedule every 2 weeks. Sometimes in between calendar quarters, we take a 3-week break. Sometimes after Christmas, we take a 3-week break. So that's essentially the cadence. Every 2 weeks, you get to submit 2 to 4 cases that are reviewed by Simon, both in writing. He will send back to you the PowerPoint presentation you submit to him in a HIPAA-compliant environment. He reviews it, then he discusses it with you on the Zoom call. It's a very, very effective, has been a very, very effective mentoring program. He helps you design the appliances for free, is included, bless you, as part of the mentoring. He's in communication with the lab in the CC. There's a small WhatsApp group where you can, it's anything super urgent, you can bring it up. And so what is the cost of the residency program? Some people initially join the listen and learn only. They don't submit cases. They join for that 5-6 hours every 2 weeks to listen, get access to the hundreds of hours of recordings because they might have a specific case, their own child, that they need treatment, and they can go directly to those cases that are similar to their own child, right? There's roughly, my brother's categorized into 10 different classifications. And so you can join that. That's $500 a month. It's minimum 3 months. So it's $1,500 per quarter, you could say. Once again, you can join at any point in time. You can join whenever you're ready. And if once you're ready to submit cases, if there are spots, then it is $1,500 per month, 3 times, right? If you want a one-off session with Simon, you can submit x-rays, self-analysis, everything. He'll do a paid consult for $500 US per 30 minutes, right? So generally it's a 1 or 2 consults. He's reserving his time for the mentoring and so on. He runs a full-time clinical practice, obviously, during the week, and the weekends, every 2 weeks, he's dedicating basically 6 hours or so, plus many hours of reviewing the notes beforehand and writing them up. So that happens on the weekends every 2 weeks. So that is it in a nutshell. Do you have any? Hopefully I summarized it relatively clearly. I'm sure you have questions. So fire away. Yeah, the 2-day course is the first step, and it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what does that mean? Let's say you sign up today, next week, whatever, right? It's $897. The price will go up February 16th, so a couple of weeks away, not 10 days away. And you get instant access to last year's complete 2-day intro program. So with Amanda, with Dr. Kevin Boyd, they contributed 3 hours out of the 14, but we have an additional 6 hours of Q&A bonus from previous years that we've included. So you can review that entire course risk-free for 30 days. We've had 5 people out of 470 who've asked for their money back for whatever reason, right? So we're pretty confident you will see the value. There'll be, whether you want to implement it or not, that's something that, after the 2 days, you'll have a good idea. And, we can jump on a call again if you want to have a chat about, what are the options. But that's essentially the core program and how it flows. So review yes, because we're not just giving you the typical 2-day intro, which there's a lot of hype and, rah-rah. We are giving you more than 500 pages of protocol information written, right? Step by step, how to communicate with the lab. It's very detailed, right? We're living in the world of not just information. We're overloaded with information, right? There's just so many courses. The key is implementation. We're one of the few that we've seen that has over 135 consecutively treated cases on our website working with mixed dentition 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds in this early interceptive world. So we're very, this is the first time we started advertising was last year. My brother's been just, working and teaching ad hoc and just mainly teaching in Australia to the local international group. And then just organically, people started finding us, and from the US and Canada. Now 80% of the mentoring students are from Canada, from North America, US and Canada. But anyway, so that's the kind of the backdrop. So any other questions? Otherwise, I can resend you the links and how to sign up for the 2 day program. It's 30 days. So if you're keen, you can just go through the last year's recordings first, and then make a decision. Where do you want to go from there? Excellent. Are you have your own practice? Do you have any children that might need intervention as well, or family members? Is that part of the motives? Oh, cool. That's awesome. How old are your kids now? Wow, that's congrats. You just had a baby not too long ago. Yeah, it's a beautiful time. I've got a 6 and 7 year old. But anyway, so that's great. So, I think, the earlier I'm sure, at that age, I don't know. When do you start noticing? I think 4 or 5, you start noticing some crowding in the lower jaw in particular. Yeah, so it's good to learn this. Oh, and the third part, besides the upper and lower appliances, it's fundamental to. That's why we call it postural orthodontics. Comes from Professor Mew's term, tropic premise, is the tongue posture. The tongue being on the roof of the mouth, which lightly closes the jaws. That is the optimal posture for optimal growth in children. When they sleep, when they're around, they should only open their mouths when they eat and talk. If we are having an epidemic of weak lower jaws, as I'm sure you're aware, through your research, I'm sure. So that's why we train them on our GoPex exercises, good oral posture exercises. So that's part of the 2 day program. How do you go about teaching? We've got specific step-by-step videos, a little book that we give away for parents for free, and you can give that away as well to potential patients and families who want to do early intervention. So this is the key, to prevent relapse and have proper growth. So I won't go into all the science of it, but my brother definitely does go into that in the 2 day intro as well. Terrific. Any other questions I can help with? Oh, one last thing. In September 26th to the 28th, because a lot of my brother's work is in terms of marketing, helping you with the marketing, is case presentation. Good photography is essential. My brother was a photography buff as a young kid, and that actually came in very handy in his dental work, keeping good records. So there is a practical workshop in person at the same venue, probably DoubleTree by Hilton near Newark Airport, and where we held it last year. And it's a 2.5 day workshop where we will go through photography, we'll go through putting on appliances on each other's mouths. The participants will have them custom built for you beforehand. So there'll be marketing. We'll cover all those good things. So that's something that is a new thing we've decided to launch and roll out for the US market. Gives a good excuse for him to visit us, my brother and his mother, who's here. So we want to get him over as much as we can from Australia, which is a fair hike. But that is available for anyone who's completed phase 1 and lab day, half of the advanced self-study program. So, you can join if you want for that workshop. It's not essential, but obviously anyone who wants a more hands-on practical experience, then obviously in-person workshops are great for that. All rightio. Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Is that the correct pronunciation? Fantastic. So I'll send you another email with the info summarizing, and if you have any questions, just, text me, call me, or send an email. Anytime. Take care. Hope to have you join us. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.